Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of April 27th, 2025. First up, I'd like to remind you that I will be teaching a 3-day intensive on predictive astrology. October 15th through 19th is the OPA retreat, and it's in Park City, Utah. This is going to be a wonderful opportunity to connect with like-minded people in a beautiful environment and learn astrology with other spiritual seekers. This is for people who have an understanding of how to delineate a natal chart and want to expand their skills by forecasting the future with various techniques. You can go to opaastrology.org to learn more and register, or check out the link in the show notes. I would love to have you join me. First, let's take a look back at the astrology in action. Last week's episode was called Tales from the Crypt, and Pope Francis died right after the last quarter moon. And I advised people to be very aware of any heart issues with the Mars-Pluto opposition, which happened yesterday. And at the last quarter moon, which was on Sunday, April 20th, where the moon was in Aquarius, which rules the circulatory system, opposite Mars in Leo, which is literally, Leo rules the heart and Mars attacks. So heart attack is a literal translation of this astrology. And both of them squared the sun in Taurus. And he was a person that many people around the world loved and adored. He was a revolutionary in a lot of ways, where he tried to bring the Catholic Church into the 21st century in some ways. And people around the world are in mourning for his loss as Venus makes the last conjunction to Saturn. Now, I'm recording this on Tuesday, the 22nd of April at 10:50 a.m. I don't know all of the news that happened over the week, but we do know that his funeral is going to be on the day of the Mars-Pluto opposition. So this is one of the biggest stories of eclipse season. The lunar eclipse at 23 Virgo on March 14th squared his sun at 25 Sagittarius in his 6th house of things that go wrong with your health. And the solar eclipse at 9 Aries squared his 10 Cancer ascendant, which rules the vitality. So there was clearly this theme of health and vitality with the Pope and this eclipse season. The Birthdate Company makes amazing products, and I am a proud affiliate. I especially love the Birthdate book. It's a fully personalized, beautiful, and unique reading of your birth chart with over 70 pages of detailed horoscope analysis. It is such high quality. I absolutely love it. They also make amazing birthdate candles. You can get it for yourself or as a gift for someone else. So check out the store and use my coupon code Celeste10 for a 10% discount. Go to bit.ly 3PW3NFM. You can find that in the link in the show notes. Enjoy. The theme of this week is circuit breakers, and there are three big things I want you to think about as you navigate this week. The first is that we have a new moon in Taurus today. Taurus is fixed earth. So intentions you set under this new moon have extra oomph and energy for you to keep and persist with them. Taurus energy is stable, it's practical, it's grounded. Shadow energies can be being very stubborn or possessive. You can think about the Four of Pentacles tarot card, which is the guy like holding onto a coin as tightly as he can. I'm a Taurus, and I must admit, especially when I was a child, I was very possessive of my French fries, and I did not like it when people would take French fries off my plate, which my father would love to do. Taurus is ruled by the planet Venus, which is finishing up her cycle in the sign of Pisces and separating from a conjunction to Saturn in Pisces. And the big story about the last Venus-Saturn conjunction is that people around the world are saying goodbye to a beloved figure who died. So Venus rules the beloved, and Saturn rules death, and Pisces rules religion. So literally, people on the day, the 24th was the day of the Venus-Saturn conjunction, the last of three. And it was an opportunity there was a public viewing of the Pope during that time. And yesterday, Saturday, had Mars in Leo opposite Pluto in Aquarius. One of the most intense symbologies that we can have, because Mars rules action and violence and energy and drive. And Pluto's the higher octave of Mars. So that reverberation is going to go through this new moon cycle. And there are going to be people wanting to have this role in conflict as we go into the conclave. I'm not Catholic, so I don't know a lot about it, but there are going to be the cardinals. And how interesting that Mercury is in Aries, because Aries rules the color red. Mercury is symbology of cardinals, of birds. So it'll be interesting to see if, when the next pope is chosen, Mercury is still in Aries, and what is it doing? Or I imagine this could be a very dramatic and exciting, potentially, at least yesterday was, and we'll see how long that energy is expressed in the public domain. Yeah, Mercury and Venus and Saturn are all in the 8th house of death if you set the chart to the United States. And our president went over to the funeral. I'll really be interested to see how Mars opposite Pluto shows up. It's so fascinating. The solar eclipse was to the Pope's midheaven on March 29th. Then Neptune went into Aries. Neptune has associations with spirituality. So a new start around spirituality. And on the last day, the Pope is buried under the balsamic moon. Once you understand the timing of astrology, it just cracks open your whole mind into different ways. Yes, it does. I'm wondering if our president acted up at the funeral, because the Mars-Pluto opposition is going to show up somehow. And it can manifest in a positive high road about passionate leadership. And I'm sure this will be discussed in relationship to the Pope, as well as courageous truth-telling. Uranus is sextile the north node in the sky, and he was considered revolutionary in a lot of ways. He had a big focus on mercy over judgment. Let's hope we don't get some right-wing pope going forward, but we shall see, because the shadow expression of Mars opposite Pluto is domineering behavior, explosive conflicts, obsessive controls, suppressed anger, which can maybe be displayed. And I wonder if the president thinks he's going to in some way influence who the next pope is. Will we see him push aside someone like he did in Europe during his first term, where he pushed a fellow leader to the side to be first in the front row in a picture? We shall see. And that will be an example of Mars opposite Pluto. His aggressive behavior exposed to the whole world, Aquarius. Pluto unearths things and exposes things. So we'll see if that's a story. Hopefully I'm wrong and he is on good behavior. The themes we'll be seeing in the world, as well as you can look to in your own life, are about securing your financial future or issues related to finances, banking. National wealth will be a topic going forward. Agriculture may come up because Taurus is an earth sign. It governs currency, natural resources, and it has association with farming. Notice if you're seeing stories about environmental preservation or lack thereof, or landmarks, national landmarks. There's talk about taking national landmarks away from the people and giving them to private companies in order to make money off of. Yeah, Mars is at 4 degrees of Leo at the new moon, and it is within 2 degrees of where it's stationed to go retrograde on the north node of the 8th house of debt in the United States. And the United States has a south node in Aquarius in the 2nd house of our economy. So we're going to be hearing throughout this cycle more and more of the news about how these tariffs, which were enacted in a disastrous manner and caused a lot of upheaval in the stock market, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Various economic experts are very concerned about what this means going forward long term for the United States, in the confidence in people having their money in the United States, buying our bonds, using the dollar as the currency. So we'll see what happens. The full moon in 2 weeks will be very telling because the sun will be in Taurus, the moon will be in Scorpio about debt. So yeah, prepare to be finding out more and more about the bigger impacts of what is going on. I expect we will see, just continue to see more job losses as the recession comes clearer and clearer into focus. Now, Venus is conjunct the asteroid Nemesis. So it will be interesting. This could be something that happens at the funeral. I wonder if there's going to be all this gossip that comes out of the Pope's funeral. We shall see, with Mercury and Venus treading over their old ground, Mars as well, with like marriage partners or people who are supposed to be allies, seeing the tension between them, or they're having fights in some ways. I wrote down, before I realized this was the Pope's funeral day, I have the image, and we will probably see this, probably saw this somewhere in the world. It already happened, so there's no need to be scared about it. But like this image of people clearing up the figurative rubble after an explosion with that Mars opposite Pluto. So this is what people will be doing on Sunday. It could be like you had a fabulous dinner party, which you really went all out in a Mars in Leo type of way, but you made like this incredible mess. So cleaning it up may be something you're doing on Sunday or over the next couple of days. Or all of a sudden you decide to go on a decluttering project on Saturday and you're pulling everything out of all of your drawers and sorting through the wheat from the chaff with the South Node in Virgo on what you want to keep versus what you want to donate to charity. Or it could be like a couple having a fight about finances, or they had the fight and now they're dealing with the fallout. Yeah. And the reason I'm saying that it happened in the past is because Venus is separating from Saturn. Mars is separating from the opposition to Pluto. So it feels like something that's happened, you're dealing with it. And maybe it's something that comes up within yourself, your shadow self. Pluto can bring up the shadows, and you are doing a bunch of internal healing about it. And it may have to do with self-esteem, a Taurian topic. So you can be thinking about like a light shining on Taurus with the sun being in the sign. Your self-esteem versus Mars and Leo, how you take action. Opposite Pluto and Aquarius, your subconscious desires to get a certain response from the collective. And these are some of the things that you can be thinking about working through over this lunar cycle, like especially if there's something you want to manifest in your life, but you're holding yourself back. You can really do some deep soul diving about how it may be related to your self-esteem. And are you your own worst enemy? Venus conjunct Nemesis. And what can you do to heal that wound? Now, this new moon, the lunar nodes of the U.S. Sibley chart, which is the chart most astrologers use for the birth of the country. As I mentioned already, the South node's in Aquarius, in the second house of national wealth, and the North node is in Leo, in the house of debt and crisis, the 8th house, and Mars is within 2 degrees. So there's going to be Mars and Leo. The actions, the attacks of the Leonic figure, who our president is a Leo rising, and the impact that the decisions made have on our national wealth and whatnot is going to be a big story. The tarot card is the 5 of Pentacles. This is a card of isolation, financial loss. People are suffering hardship outside of a church. You can see them walking by the church windows and they're very sad. This is so on the nose. These Sabian symbols are incredible. So this is the day after the Pope's funeral. And the Sabian symbol for 7 Taurus, we always read one up, so we would read 8 Taurus. It's a sleigh without snow. So a sleigh without snow, you have this implement to do something, this transportation vehicle, but if you don't have the snow, you can't ride it. So the tool is not helpful because you don't have the resource, the snow. And this is something I predicted about Donald Trump's second presidency, that there was going to be a big screw up related to him doing something impulsively without having the proper resources. I thought it would be like a military attack or something like that. But these tariffs are doing exactly that. They are causing this upheaval in the world, in the financial markets, but we don't have the resources here to replace the things that we're losing that we bring in from overseas. And it's going to be causing a lot of chaos in corporations, which trickles down into people's lives going forward. So a lot of people throughout this lunar cycle will be making adjustments to their budgets or their finances in some way, or their savings accounts based on what's going on with the tariffs and the trade war. And there was actually an article Monday on the 21st, so as we're leading up to Mars opposite Pluto in Aquarius, that said the tariffs are causing countries around the world to lower their financial forecasts of GDP for 2025. So one person's decisions is impacting the entire world. If you're setting intentions for yourself, you can use the moon phase families, these 27-month cycles where you have a pivot point every 9 months, which is a great to use and set in your calendar. Okay, I started this big project now. Where do I want to be 9 months from now? And this is great for really big projects. So the sun and the moon are both at 7 degrees of Taurus on April 27th, 2025. This is the new moon of the cycle. 9 months from now, we'll have a first quarter moon where the sun is in Aquarius and the moon is in Taurus, both at 6 degrees of their respective signs on January 25th, 2026. So this is a great place to aim for some of your goals. Where do you want to be then? After that, October 25th, 2026, we have a full moon where the sun will be in Scorpio and the moon will be in Taurus, both at 2 degrees. And the last quarter moon of this cycle, the sun in Leo, the moon in Taurus, July 26th, 2027, at 3 degrees of their respective signs. So wherever you have, let's just say, early degrees of Taurus, 2 to 8, this part of your chart is getting these surges of energy over the next 2.5 years. So what do you want to manifest? What house do you have Taurus in your chart? And what do you want to manifest about it? The next thing I want to make you aware of is that Venus moves into Aries on April 30th through June 5th. Venus is moving from the sign of her exaltation, Pisces, into the sign of her detriment, Aries. And it'll be really interesting to see how this works. Now, this could be fake friends are exposed and they have a little bit of an argument. I'm getting with the exaltation of Venus and Pisces, a relationship that seems very sweet and lovey-dovey, but it is deceptive. You get, the truth comes out when Venus goes into Aries. This would also be like love is a battlefield. Aries is a sign of conflict. Venus doesn't like to be in this sign because it has difficulty expressing its energy. Venus answers into Mars when it's in Aries. Now, this can be a lot of fun. Venus in Aries, Mars in Leo. I think you can have great parties. It'll be really interesting to see if we notice some shifts in fashion. On April 30th, look, what do your eyes see that are representative of Venus in Aries? Wonder Woman is an archetype. So will a woman have a battle cry on this day? You can think about, do you see a woman decked out in red who has maybe like a fierce kind of haircut? That could be something that you see. You can think about how can you assert your own needs and your relationships. Now, Venus is marching over old ground because she's stationed retrograde at 10 Aries on March 1st. So a story that happened back then may have a pivot point now. And just remember, when Venus is in Aries, in the sign of her detriment, it's going to be a little bit hard to express the energy in a natural and a smooth way. There can be some tension in relationships and things, but it can be very helpful and healing to stand your ground in certain aspects. The first thing Venus does when it moves into Aries is it conjuncts Neptune, and Venus rules love, beauty, harmony, money, values. These are all Venusian things. Now, Neptune is the great disappearer. So if you can't find a piece of jewelry when Venus meets Neptune this week, soon after, that could be what happens on April 30th. You're looking for a piece of jewelry and you can't find it anywhere. Now, Neptune enchants. And if you're single and you meet someone, be careful about rushing headfirst into love. This is something people are going to be doing without really taking the time to get to know someone. You may become disillusioned somewhat quickly because you don't really know them. And yeah, it'll become apparent that maybe this person is just out for themselves. But it exits the shadow May 15th. So that's a date to be aware of, where Venus is marching through new territory. This is also symbolic of a sign and its detriment of having no power or control or actively receiving damage in its environment. So there are going to be people who throughout this cycle of Mars retrograde, Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, and the eclipse season are making decision to end relationships. They can be financial relationships. That's a topic Venus rules. They can be love relationships, business partnerships. We're going to likely be seeing more coming up in the collective about the military and military secrets exposed. Another thing that happened with the last quarter moon was that the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth of the United States, he might not have a job as I'm saying this because it's thought that his days are numbered. He was involved in the Signal Gate from the lunar eclipse, where he shared battle plans in this chat on Signal, an unsecured app that a reporter from The Atlantic was accidentally added to. So there was another scandal where after that, he had another group chat where his wife was in there and he was sharing battle plans and military secrets there. So we may be learning more about that. I think Tulsi Gabbard is going to be a big story, and she is the Director of National Intelligence. But Venus in Aries can be an empowering time to stand up for yourself, to figure out what you need and you want in love, and to assert yourself. The last thing I want to make you aware of is that Algol is highly active again. It's a fixed star at 26 degrees of Taurus, and Uranus is conjunct Algol, the planet of upheaval, awakenings, sudden events, surprises. Uranus can be you're engaged. You get asked to be, if someone asks you to marry them, it can be you win the lottery, or it can be you trip and fall and twist your ankle. So Uranus is the unexpected. The star has negative connotations from cultures around the world because it often corresponds with some kind of catastrophe, but it's also associated with the Medusa mythology. Medusa was a maiden who was assaulted by Poseidon and then punished by Athena for being raped in her temple. And her hair, she was turned into a monster with her hair turned into snakes. And Tulsi Gabbard kind of has that look where she has that white strip in her hair, and the way her hair looks, she's very Medusa looking. So I think something's going to happen where she's back in the news cycle throughout this month. It may be some kind of intelligence failure, or maybe Signal Gate comes back up, but it's also called the beheading star. So heads could roll, and I'm thinking Pete Hegseth specifically. We'll see if Tulsi Gabbard gets fired, but notice when people get fired if Algol is activated. There's also a movie this summer with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and she's got that white strip in her hair looking very Medusa. So notice when you see Medusa imagery, because the star is very active again, and the sun in Taurus is moving towards that 26 Taurus. So we'll definitely be seeing stuff towards the end of the lunar cycle after the full moon. But the key is try not to lose your head. If you are embarking on a new journey, experiencing a major life event, feeling stuck, trying to make a difficult decision, or just looking to make positive changes, astrology can provide life-changing insights. There are several ways to work with me. You can come for a 60 or 90-minute astrology consultation depending on your needs. Engage in longer-term cosmic success coaching where we work together on a 3-month basis to help you overcome blocks, improve your life satisfaction, build better relationships, accomplish your career goals, and understand yourself better using the tool of astrology. Or mystic mentoring if you're an aspiring astrologer and want help with chart analysis techniques. Go to astrologybyceleste.com to check out my offerings. If you have any questions, you can email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com. On Sunday, the word of the day is value. The moon enters the sign of Taurus at 12:16 a.m. Pacific time. Taurus is fixed earth. And can you do something that soothes your senses on this day or over the next couple of days? Get a massage. Buy yourself some flowers that your eyes get to cast themselves on something beautiful. Make a great meal. These are great things to do under a Taurus moon where the moon is exalted. Now it's tense because as soon as the moon enters the sign, it squares Pluto and Mars. So watch out for power struggles because there is the potential for things to get really dramatic. The Taurus new moon at 7 degrees is at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. So after that is a great time to set intentions about what you want to bring into your life, specifically about health or wealth topics, or the topics of the house that you have Taurus in your chart. On Monday, the word of the day is erupt. The moon will meet Uranus at 26 degrees of Taurus. So a group of people, the moon rules the people, is likely to have some kind of upheaval. Uranus is in Taurus. It could be like a land upheaval. It could be, like I mentioned earlier, like a national monument is given away to, who knows, an oil company or something like that. Or it could be someone fired. The president of the United States has been intimating how much he wants to get rid of the head of the Fed. He's the minister of coin, so to speak. And him threatening this guy and saying nasty things about this guy has caused stocks to free fall April 20th. Now, people could be protesting something or experiencing some kind of something out of the ordinary. So we'll see what happens. I would keep my eye on finances. The Gemini moon begins at 11:34 p.m. Pacific time. Gemini is mutable air. There will be maybe you'll wake up to big news the following day. I wrote down notes on a scandal. So maybe the moon Uranus is a scandal, is unearthed, and what happens next is the fallout. On Tuesday, the word of the day is scandalous. So the moon sextiles Neptune at 1 degree. So the moon in Gemini sextiles Neptune in Aries. This could be a secret revealed about a Gemini or an Aries topic. Aries rules the military. It has to do with police forces. Gemini rules the hands. Something about a handgun could come up on this day that's in a place it shouldn't be. I think we're going to be seeing some dramatic outrage from people or the talking heads on TV because the moon is trine Pluto and then it sextiles Mars. So people are very animated. On Wednesday, the word of the day is overload. The moon and Jupiter meet at 21 Gemini in the 7th house of the Sibley chart. So the United States has Mars in the 7th house of open enemies and allies. And Jupiter stationed there last year. So the people may become aware of some kind of wealth being spent with another country, or there's something exposed here, I think, or circuits are overloaded for some reason. Because Venus is at 29 degrees of Pisces, and I'm saying, and she's separating from Saturn. So I wrote down Venus is carrying a heavy load. Saturnian loads are heavy before she drops it in the volcano, Aries. And Venus enters Aries at 10:15 a.m. Pacific time. So notice what you're seeing. Then we have a waxing crescent moon at 25 Gemini at 5:32 p.m. Pacific time. This is a time where we see the light, energy increases. That like little crescent moon in the sky, that's if you weren't sure about what intentions to set, you may get a bright idea at this time. And the moon squares the nodes at 26 degrees. The south node's in Virgo, the north node's in Pisces. So there could be, I'm getting circuits overloaded. There could be some kind of system going down, like, I don't know, Twitter going down for a couple hours or something like that. We'll see if anything happens on this day. On Thursday, the word of the day is farming. The tariffs are really crippling the farming industry in a lot of ways in the United States because farmers who sold soybeans to China, those contracts have all been canceled, as well as I'm sure there are other things that are impacting them with the president making enemies of the entire world. So there may be some news about farming or land or something like that. The moon enters the sign of Cancer at 12:22 a.m. Pacific time. The moon is at home in this sign where she can do what she does with ease, which is feel. Maybe there'll be some nice rain somewhere that is needed. Now, this is the day the North Node sextiles Uranus at 26 Taurus. So a group of people can be experiencing something Uranian. This is the day Mars clears its shadow. One of the big stories of Mars opposite Pluto in Aquarius was really bad winds. We saw them in China where people were being told, if you weighed under 125 pounds, don't go outside because you might blow away. It is so intense, these winds. Aquarius is an air sign. Pluto is catastrophic. So catastrophic winds is in line. But you may see a story talking about the upheaval farmers are experiencing because of the economic policies. On Friday, the word of the day is self-love. This is a day Venus in Aries is conjunct Neptune at 1 degree of Aries. Ooh, if you lost some jewelry, maybe it comes back and you find it. Oh, there's that ring. There's that what have you. This can be really romantic and dreamy. Yeah, but love yourself. Aries rules the self. So do something nice for yourself, whether you get yourself a little treat, write yourself a little love letter, just look in the mirror and tell yourself, who loves you, baby? And then you say, I do. Yes, you do. Saturday, the word of the day is toast. It's my birthday. Happy birthday to me, May 3rd. So I don't drink anymore, but I will still toast to the good life, a non-alcoholic beverage to the good life. I got in my mind when I was recording this, the quarterback is toast from Die Hard, the movie. It's one of the scenes. I love that movie. And the moon in Leo begins at 4:28 a.m. Pacific time. Leo moons are dramatic. It's fixed fire. Can you feel empowered, excited, motivated to achieve your goals? You may notice people are talking louder, wearing more red, having more fun, laughing. The moon meets Mars at 6 Leo on the north node of the US chart, so we may get some reverberation or something that's about this cycle. We could be looking at debt problems. Hopefully won't be any conflict on a big scale. Israel is a Leo moon. Netanyahu, I think we haven't seen his story yet from eclipse season as I'm recording this, but he's got Saturn at the bottom of his chart, which suggests he's under a lot of pressure or could experience some kind of failure. And his midheaven was eclipsed with the South Node. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. He may be part of the Mars opposite Pluto story, but I don't know. That's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology and action stories, or let me know how the daily themes are playing out for you. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.